Welcome back to the Source One podcast and the first episode of our latest series. With the Institute for Supply Management's annual conference just a few months away, we're getting ready by sharing discussions and reflections on key topics from this year's agenda. On the first episode of ISM2019 Trends and Topics, Spend Analysis Lead Brian Seipel joins us to offer his insights on data analytics and reporting. The last several years have seen procurement grow increasingly interested in data analytics. For many, it's become something like an obsession. While data is undoubtedly a powerful thing, Seipel suggests many organizations are getting into data analytics and reporting for the wrong reasons. They spend countless hours wading through data without a clear path forward, and they ultimately lose their stakeholders. Calling on years of experience, he offers suggestions for organizations looking to address data more strategically and deliver more engaging reports.
I'm going to kick this podcast off with a quote from Charles Dickens, who once said, "There is nothing so strong or safe in an emergency of life as the simple truth." This call for honesty and transparency is important in data analytics too, and a topic by itself. However, let's focus on a single word within that quote, the simple truth. Simplicity is indeed strong. It is clear, direct, and can be a catalyst for action. These are all important qualities to have on your side in an emergency situation. A while back, a client of mine was in such a situation. The details of that emergency aren't really important right now. We've all dealt with a crisis or two of our own, so imagine your favorite corporate "my house is on fire" moment. To respond, I needed intel. How many locations were on fire at the moment, and which were likely to catch on fire in the future? Despite these very simple outcomes, the method of arriving at them was pretty complex and incorporated a good number of variables. As such, I asked for a quick and easy report so I knew how to focus my resources. I did not get this report. Instead, what I got was a data pull of all locations, along with fields describing each of those many variables. Sure, it was neat, clean, and complete, but it wasn't what I requested. There was no simple Boolean yes or no response to whether any individual house was on fire. In an emergency situation, with houses on fire now, this report was asking me to set aside critical time in order to crunch numbers and sift through the dozens of locations that were safe in order to ID personally those that were at risk. This isn't an uncommon occurrence, and I've seen plenty of reports in my time that function the same way. So really, at the end of the day, we need to do better. A lot of us spend significant hours steeped in data. It makes me wonder why we get it all so very, very wrong. I trace a lot of it back to the day-to-day data wrangling tasks. How much time do we spend pulling data sources together, cleansing errors and bad data, and consolidating data into single files that are unified so we can play with them? Depending on the volume we're working with and the tools at our disposal, this can be a grind of a task. We sometimes become so singularly focused on managing it that we can no longer see the forest for the trees by the time we get around to our analysis. We start looking at them as a way to summarize data rather than transforming it into valuable information. In other words, stare at data too long and the data stares back. So before hitting the send button on that next outgoing report, we should ask a few gut check questions. First, what specific questions are they answering, and how direct is that answer? Second, do we know the challenges our stakeholders are trying to solve with this report? Third, are we sending this report out reactively simply because it's something we do every Monday morning? And then finally, most importantly, does the report add value? Do stakeholders get an ROI for their time spent interpreting it? Don't think about data analytics in terms of the tactical elements. Elevate to a strategic mindset. In short, we don't want to just hand off chunks of data, we want to be the voice of that data. So let's establish two rules of thumb. First, if stakeholders have to dig into raw data to interpret our results, we lose. Could our stakeholders fill in the blanks if we don't? Maybe, maybe not, depending on how analytically inclined they are. If you're delivering to your CEO, CFO, or any other member of top brass, I'd venture to say no. That isn't the role they were brought into play. And if I had to guess, they have their hands full with the roles that they were brought into play. In any event, they shouldn't have to. That's what we're here for, right? Second, if reports don't lead to a clear interpretation of reality, again, we lose. On the other end of the spectrum, we shouldn't be so quick to simplify and visualize our data to the point where results border on meaningless. There's a real set of facts we're reporting on. Visualization should make seeing those facts easier, not change the interpretation of them. I don't think I need to delve too deeply into how badly visualizations can go wrong. Those are well-blazed trails at this point. However, here's a quick refresher. Let's say, for example, we have a bar chart with values ranging from, say, 80 at the beginning to 100 at the end. If we start our y-axis at 0, this chart would have a very gradual visual increase. Not too interesting. However, if we started that y-axis at 80, then we have a pretty sharp incline. This makes for a pretty impactful visual, but also a very misleading one. It is incredibly easy to misinterpret data visualizations without having clear parameters and an understanding of that underlying data. Both of these hypothetical charts, with the y-axis starting at either 0 or 80, will show a rising trend, so there is some truth to both. However, our chart with the y-axis starting at 80 tells a much more alarming story that isn't necessarily true, all because we went crazy with our y-axis. At best, this type of mistake is born of carelessness. At worst, the creator is intentionally trying to mislead. Long story short, if we want to be more than passers-on of disparate data points, we know what we need to do. We need to do a better job of understanding what our stakeholders need and give it to them. Nothing more, nothing less. Don't simply pass around data that others need to find answers to challenges. Be the person who comes to the table with solutions in hand.
Thanks for listening to the first episode of ISM 2019 Trends and Topics. Headed to Houston this April? Don't forget to stop by booth 438 to meet our team.